How's it going, guys? And welcome to, I think, the first episode of Yanas Online, where I talk about geek culture and online culture in general. And I'm coming back here with my tunes after long as well, in hiatus. Yeah, I straight up went to Gashi, Hunter x Hunter on this channel, and I do apologize for that. But anyway, I would like to discuss, firstly, one of the reasons this channel was inactive for so long, and that is, well, to be blatantly obvious, I pretty much stopped watching anime. I know, it's crazy, but this doesn't mean that I hate anime now, by any stretch of the imagination, but I did get burnt out on it. And when you're such an uber geek as I am, uber geek meaning that I like a lot of different things in geek culture, not necessarily like video games or anime or whatever, but like a whole variety of stuff. As I was saying before I rudely interrupted myself, you sometimes, go through phases where you have to take a break from certain things. You kind of move on to other different forms of media, and you need to take a break, and then when you come back, or like find some kind of inspiration to bring you back into, be it video games or anime or science or stuff like that. So for me, anime and video games went on the back burner while I really got into pen and paper role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons specifically, and then carried on with like YouTube and online culture. And this isn't good or bad, it just happens. And I feel like it's important to note, for me and for yourself, when these things are happening, so that you don't like force yourself to try and enjoy things when you don't enjoy them anymore. Like sometimes our preferences change, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the end for whatever thing. You just need to take a break and like don't force yourself. Like there's only so much time in the world, and you got to do you. Now of course there will definitely most definitely be more anime content on this channel coming. In fact, this is a very piece about anime. How ironic. But I thought it might be interesting to dissect some of the reasons why I got burnt out on anime. So yeah, let's take a look into that. The first and foremost thing I can think of was having to critically, review anime for this channel. And this kind of forces you to look at anime with a fine-tooth comb, and look at how well it's produced. And this can sometimes sour your judgment of an anime or even video games or movies or whatever, because sometimes you have to look at things objectively, but entertainment in its very essence is a very suggestive thing, much like comedy, and comedy is a form of entertainment. So like you look at things and then you think, oh, you become like a connoisseur. Yes, this particular blend of anime has excessively high contents of tontatas and Rebeccas, 1 out of 10, for example. So the more I watched new anime shows coming out every season, the more I started to notice sort of tired, unnuanced reviewing media these days likes that word, nuanced. Unnuanced tropes and cliches and unnecessary fan service and plot points that make no sense within the rules of the world. Not our world, I mean the world that they are trying to create. So like some people take artistic license a bit too far, and it's jarring when you're trying to objectively attempting to objectively review a piece of entertainment. And I think one of the worst things is bad animation, because I mean, it's anime. It's short for animation. You know, like, you should at least get that part right. You know, and everything should come second. Although I am an advocate for story first, but animation is if not a first, a very close second. So things were starting to feel manufactured, copied, lacking originality, and of course there were exceptions to the rule, like One Punch Man and Rakugo. But these seem to be exactly that, exceptions to the rule rather than the norm. And you know, before we started reviewing anime for the channel, it didn't kind of seem that way, because you usually only watched things that were, you know, that everybody was talking about. And I suppose it was kind of like what we were trying to do was educate people on like what's good and what's bad, or like you just talk about the stuff that we liked, and the stuff that we didn't like. The second thing was probably the kind of weird stuff that was going on social media, and the anime community and forums and stuff like that. With regards to things like, you know, blind fanboyism between titles, like dumb arguments about which characters are stronger, like between universes, and which animes you have to watch, or which animes you have to like to be a true like fan or otaku, or which animes you shouldn't be watching unless you be called a weeaboo, stuff like that. And the whole weeaboo thing, like, I still like don't quite understand what the whole like problem was, but I don't know, maybe I'm just like too old for that. And I suppose like anime elitism pretty much sums it up. And like looking at the anime community like on social media and stuff is a very big part of running a YouTube channel. You know, like a lot of anime reviewers and people who talk about anime have to get involved in the culture. Like it's part of any niche in the YouTube scene. You have to be part of the community. So like getting in there and like seeing all of this like weird stuff, it was, you know, it can like put you off some of the stuff. And I was like way too old to be getting into stuff like waifu wars and whatnot. The third thing I think is the time sink factor. Watching anime actually takes a lot of energy. You have to pay attention. If you're not proficient in speaking Japanese, you can't just like leave it running and then go off to clean or cook or to enter data or whatever. And that might be kind of detrimental when you're trying to like hand in a thesis or run a YouTube channel or other sorts of online stuff. So yeah, like that's kind of a whole thing. Fillers. Dreaded bane of my existence. There are fillers. And I'm pretty sure anybody who's seen some of our videos on the podcast have come to realize that I do loathe fillers. Especially in like Naruto, or even like story padding, like drawing out story arcs that don't really need to be drawn out, like Dressrosa took way too long in One Piece. So I found myself even stopping watching the regular stuff, which was pretty hectic for me, because like I grew up on watching long running weekly series like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. So you know, like at the time I didn't really like what was going on in Dragon Ball Super. Naruto was rife with fillers. The One Piece Dressrosa arc had, like I said earlier, way too much Tontatas and Rebecca for my liking. Too much plot. So to sum up, I think and there's many other reasons, but I think like this video is a bit too long already. I took a hiatus on anime. I will no doubt be getting back into it. I just caught up on Naruto now since it's ended, and I do wanna record a video on like the lessons that the story of Naruto kind of teaches you, exposes you to, because I feel like Naruto is a very like emotional journey, and there's a lot of themes, politics, that sort of stuff going on in the background, and it's a bit like it's a bit more convoluted than it looks on the surface, and I don't think a lot of people like realize that, you know. I mean, just to most people, like cartoons and anime is always going to be just a bunch of like flashy colors and on the screen with weird sounds. But like, if you subscribe to the channel because of Anime Tunes, I'm pretty sure you know more than that. Like, anime can be quite deep in many respects, and I think Naruto is one of the story of Naruto is one of the shining examples. Like, I'm not so sure about the anime, because the anime is full of padded and there's a lot of nonsense in it. Even in the last few episodes of the Naruto anime, like that episode where Lee is trying to find a gift for Naruto and Hinata's wedding, that was pretty much like an episode of Naruto SD. It was like the animations and stuff was so separate from like what we were used to in Naruto. It was kind of actually jarring, but you know, it was like kind of funny, and I suppose, you know, you can't, it was just one episode, but you know, it's one of those things. On a final note, I would like to know if you guys in the comment section below, down there probably, if you guys have ever taken a hiatus, hiatus on anime, and what were your reasons for doing so. And I suppose an equally more interesting question is like, what always keeps you coming back? Like, you know, if you ever get tired of anime, like if you ever drop it for a couple of weeks, couple of months, maybe a couple of years, yeah, what brings you back to it? And so yeah, that's it from me. Do remember to like the video if you did, and subscribe to the channel for more videos about what we love in geek and online culture. And as always, stay tuned and cheers.